Hey, let me tell you a story. My name is Grant Miles, and for the last 12 years, I have been the guy people call when their audio breaks. Not for movies, not for glamorous post-production, just the ugly side of sound, emergency calls, corrupted phone recordings, final messages from people who never made it home. The kind of work nobody advertises, but everybody ends up needing. So when a woman walked into my studio one evening holding a flash drive like it was something alive, I knew this was not going to be a routine job. She sat down, hands shaking, and told me her son disappeared 3 nights earlier. He left a friend's house and took the same rural path he always used, a straight cut through open fields, no traffic, no street lights, nothing but distance and dark. Sometime between the last message he sent and the moment he should have stepped into his yard, he vanished. The police gave her the usual empty words. Maybe he wandered, maybe he ran away, maybe he needed space. She did not believe any of it. She said there was one thing left, a file he recorded about 6 minutes before he went silent. Her phone would not play it. It only said the recording was corrupted. So she came to me. I loaded the file into my workstation expecting wind noise. Rough footsteps. The muffled breathing you always get when somebody forgets they are recording. But the waveform made me stop breathing for a second. It was a perfect flat line. Absolute silence. Phones do not record perfect silence. Even in the quietest room there is low-level hiss. Digital noise, a movement, the scrape of fabric, something. But this file was blank in a way that did not look accidental. I zoomed into the waveform far past what I normally bother with and saw something almost invisible. Tiny bends in the line, microfractures, evenly spaced along the length. They did not look like random glitches, they looked intentional, like a pattern pressed into the silence. I isolated those tiny distortions and ran a spectrogram, expecting ugly digital artifacts. But what showed up at the bottom of the spectrum made no sense. There was a repeating signature at 0 Hz. At the floor, a place where no sound should exist. It was like something had been pushed into the file instead of recorded by the microphone. I put on my studio headphones and played it back at a level nobody sane uses for silence. Listening to nothing that loud is usually pointless, but I needed to feel how the room would react. After a few seconds I felt it. The quiet had weight. Not emotional weight. Physical weight, like pressure building inside my ears. I paused the file and the room felt wrong. Sharper, over-focused, every tiny sound stood out. The hum of the power strip, the faint buzz in the overhead lights. Details I knew were there, but never noticed. It felt like the recording had retuned the way my ears listened to the room. I checked the metadata, hoping for something normal. A phone model, a codec tag, a software name, anything. But it was scrubbed clean. Just a timestamp, 9:14 in the evening. The last moment, his phone was active. The mother asked if I found anything and I told her I needed more time. Not because there was nothing there, but because I had no idea how to explain what I was seeing. Her son was not on that file at all. The only thing present was that strange pattern. When she left, I replayed the recording through my studio monitors. Loud enough that the air itself should have felt restless. About 5 seconds and I felt something behind me. A cold focus of air touching the back of my neck. Not a draft, not the air conditioning. A narrow column of cold like the presence of someone standing too close. I turned around fast expecting to see somebody at the door. But the room was empty. The air was still. The cold sensation vanished in an instant. I stopped playback but the weight in the room did not leave. It settled deeper, like the silence now had a shape. I scrubbed to the end of the file and saw a sharp spike. A perfect vertical line right at the edge. Not the kind of fade or stop a phone usually produces. It looked like the file had been cut manually, like the recording did not end. It was interrupted. I imported the file into a diagnostic tool and tried to break it apart. But every time I manipulated it, the same pattern of microfractures popped up in new places, as if the file was resisting being touched. Around 2 in the morning, I ran a DC offset analysis and finally caught something measurable. Not a sound, but a pressure shift in the signal. The kind of subtle movement you get when someone moves extremely close to a microphone without making any actual noise. A presence rather than an audible source. I mapped that shifting pattern across the length of the file and realized the distortions occurred at a steady rhythm. Slow and evenly spaced, like footsteps. Not rushing, not panicked, just circling at a constant pace. Circling what? The boy was not audible at all, unless he was standing still while something else moved around him. That idea hit me harder than I expected. People do not record silence for no reason. You start recording when you feel something is wrong, but you cannot describe it. Maybe he hit record because he sensed something following him down that empty path but did not want to turn around. Maybe he trusted the microphone to catch what his nerves could not. I replayed the last second again, and that was when it happened for the second time. Not from the speakers, from behind me. Another shift in the air, stronger than before, like something leaned in at the exact moment I hit the spike. I killed the monitors immediately. The room fell into dead quiet. But it was not an empty quiet. It was a waiting quiet, the kind where you feel watched without hearing anything. I saved the file and tried to close the program. The window disappeared, but for a brief instant, the waveform flashed again on the black screen like a visual echo, as if the file did not want to close. I stared into the dark monitor and another thought took shape. The kid had not captured the sound of something chasing him. He had recorded the exact moment sound stopped being allowed around him. Whatever moved through that field did not make noise. It removed it. It wiped it clean and replaced it with those tiny fractures in the waveform, like footprints pressed into the floor of the file. And sitting there in that over-sharpened quiet, I knew one thing I could not ignore. The file was not broken. It was absorbing something, and whatever it absorbed was not finished moving. I sat there until sunrise telling myself I was just tired, that nothing was actually changing. But when I opened the project again, the waveform did not look the same. Those microfractures were thicker now, branching outward like veins under translucent skin. I checked the hash of the file twice and it matched the original. That meant the raw data was not shifting. The way it was being displayed was. Either my tools were finally showing more detail, or something inside that silence was pressing harder against the glass. Programs do not invent new artifacts out of nowhere. The only explanation that made any sense was the worst one. The distortions were always there and my system simply had not shown them before. That meant the file was not passive, it was patient. I ran a noise bed simulation to compare how true silence behaves in corrupted recordings, and the instant the analysis started, the room changed again. The air felt heavier, like the pressure dropped a fraction. My ears popped even though nothing was playing. Then the low steady hum of my computer tower dimmed by the smallest margin. Not like a fan failing, more like someone laying a hand on the case to muffle it. I muted everything and sat absolutely still, listening to what should have been nothing. But it was not nothing. The room was not empty anymore. It had layers. Faint shifts in the air that did not match any device I owned. Tiny pulses of movement like slow steps on a carpet you could not see. I slammed the file closed. The feeling eased almost at once, but it did not retreat all the way. It felt like something had stepped closer and was not willing to go back. That was when I started digging through missing persons reports. I did not know exactly what I was looking for, but I found it anyway. A disappearance 3 towns over, 8 months earlier. Different kid, same age range, same setup. Leaving a friend's place, walking home alone across open land. Gone somewhere in the middle. His family mentioned a weird empty recording he sent minutes before he went silent. The police dismissed it as a pocket recording. I contacted them pretending to be a researcher, and they sent me the file. When I opened it, the waveform looked almost identical to the first. The same impossible silence, the same microfractures, the same unnatural cut at the end, took cases 8 months apart with the same acoustic fingerprint. I kept digging and found another one from 5 years ago. A woman in her 30s, alone, at night, recording a quiet message to her sister before she disappeared. Her file was messier, but the pattern was there, faint and imperfect, like an early attempt. 3 people, 3 empty recordings, all outdoors, all right before they vanished, all carrying the same pressure-like footprints inside the waveform. I tried overlaying the distortions from all 3, and when I aligned them, something happened that twisted my stomach. The peaks lined up, not just roughly, perfectly. Every spike landed on the same beat, as if whatever moved round those people stepped at the exact same rhythm every time. No variation, no human randomness. It was not walking, it was pacing, circling, tracking the microphone from every angle with metronome precision. The second that realization settled in, the room shifted again. This time it was not cold, it was absence. The sensation you get when someone stands close enough to block sound waves. The corner of the studio looked wrong, not darker, just not obeying the light quite right. I shut the monitors down and stepped outside. The city noise usually felt messy and comforting, but now it sounded like it had a thin film stretched over it. Everything a little muffled, as if the world itself was being padded around the edges. That was when the pattern clicked in my head completely. Whatever caused these recordings did not produce sound, it consumed it, and the more you listened to its imprint, the better it learned how to dampen the space around you. I went back inside and made the worst decision I could have made. I opened all 3 recordings at once, stacked them, looped them, pushed the gain as high as I could without technical distortion, and hit play. Outwardly, a room stayed silent. But, physically something hit me. My ears rang like I stood next to a speaker that was not there. The floor under my chair vibrated in a slow, steady rhythm, like footsteps crossing the room, the same rhythm I had mapped from the files. I sat frozen, staring at the lifeless monitors, hoping I was imagining it, but the pressure was real. It was moving with the files. I stopped playback and the pressure froze mid-step, hanging in place like it was waiting for the next beat. I closed every window I could, then pulled the power cord from the wall with my bare hand. The screens went black, the fans wound down, and within seconds the room felt like itself again. My breathing found its own pace, but even in that normal quiet there was a dent, like something had bitten into the silence and left a mark. I packaged the original flash drive, ready to mail it back with a refund and a lie about unrecoverable data. But before I sealed the envelope, I checked the contents one more time. There was a new file on it. Not one I had created, not an autosave, a file named Fourth, its timestamp 10 minutes earlier, from the period when the power had been off. I did not open it. I did not need to. The name told me everything. Whatever left those footprints in the recordings was not tied to the missing people. It was tied to anyone who tried to study it, anyone who fed it time and attention. Anyone who listened long enough for it to learn the shape of their space. And in that moment I understood the only truth that mattered. The boy did not catch it on audio. The audio caught him. So I am telling you this for one reason. If you ever receive a silent file someone left before disappearing, do not open it. Do not analyze it. Do not lean in and listen for what is not there. Because sometimes the quiet is not empty. Sometimes it is the thing that arrives first, before everything else gets erased. And if stories like this make you stare a little longer at the progress bar before you hit play, if they sit with you in the dark when the house finally goes still, then do me a favor, stay here with me and subscribe.